Lincoln March, the lost brother of Bruce Wayne, the anti-Batman. Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Terry and this is Marvelous Videos. Batman's Rogues Gallery is full of fearful, spine-chilling characters such as the Joker, the Riddler, the Penguin, and so on. Lincoln March, a member of the Court of Owls, was a wonderful addition to Batman's Rogues Gallery, and he was popularly even known as the anti-Batman. Lincoln was created by Scott Snyder after the New 52 reboot, and he was first introduced in Batman comics in 2011. In these comics, Lincoln claimed to be the Vigilante's younger brother and even got involved with the evil organization known as the Court of Owls. Let's dive into the origins of this anti-Batman and explore his role in the Batman comics as well as his involvement with the Court of Owls. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Now let's begin. Exploring his comic book origins. Lincoln March first appeared in the DC Universe in the Batman comics of 2011, which took place after the New 52 reboot. In the first issue, entitled The Court of Owls Part 1, Knife Trick, Lincoln was introduced to Bruce Wayne at a gala held at the Wayne Mansion. Bruce Wayne held this event to share his ideas for the future of Gotham, which included investing in the city's infrastructure and restoring the architecture and so on. Vicky Vale from the Gotham Gazette introduced Lincoln March to Bruce, who already knew a little about Lincoln's campaign for the mayoral elections. Besides being a mayoral candidate, Lincoln March was also the COO of March Ventures. Bruce and Lincoln engaged in conversation and both were interested in building a better connection with each other. While Lincoln wanted Bruce's vote for mayor, Bruce tried to convince March to invest in his ideas for a better Gotham. The two set up a formal lunch to discuss these plans in further detail, and their conversation continued in the next issue of the comic entitled The Court of Owls Part 2, Trust Fall. Before getting to the lunch venue, Batman investigated a murder wherein the victim's body was left with a message threatening Bruce Wayne's life. Moreover, they found an Athenian owl mark on the victim's wisdom tooth, which hinted at the involvement of the Court of Owls. The Court of Owls was somewhat of a legendary organization, and no one really knew if they existed or how they operated in secret. Bruce Wayne later rushed to the old Wayne Tower for lunch with Lincoln, and he offered Lincoln some money to fund his campaign. Lincoln stated that he didn't come here to ask for money, and that he only wanted Bruce's vote. Nevertheless, Lincoln accepted the money, and Bruce then asked him why he came such a long way to ask for just one vote. Lincoln stated that he believed in Bruce's initiative to rebuild Gotham and that he saw a friend in him. Lincoln further remarked that he too lost his parents when he was just a young boy and started talking about it. Lincoln then launched into a tale about how he remembered his mother's pin on the day she lost her life. Bruce listened intently while Lincoln described the little ceramic pin in the shape of a lopsided heart. Lincoln claimed that he didn't remember anything about a drunk driver hitting their car, but he did recollect this pin falling off his mother's dress and lying on the ground when the paramedics arrived at the scene of the accident. Lincoln admitted to feeling hopeless for a while after the accident, but he later got funding for college and believed that the city of Gotham had saved him. He told Bruce that he saw an ally in him, especially in those times. Bruce questioned why Lincoln needed his help, especially then, but they were attacked by the assassin Talon, just as Lincoln started talking about something evil returning to Gotham. Lincoln tried to resist Talon's attack, but ended up getting critically injured. The Talon then fell, seemingly to his own death, by jumping off the tower, but he somehow survived the fall and drove away. Bruce wondered if this assassin tried to attack them by using the Court of Owls legend against him, but he soon brushed off this idea and declared that he was the only legend that this city needed. In the next comic issue, Bruce visits Lincoln in hospital after he had suffered critical injuries from the Talon's attack. Bruce asks Lincoln about the evil thing he mentioned before they were attacked, and Lincoln reveals that he'd been getting threats to drop out of the race for mayor. Lincoln further says that he woke up to find an owl in his apartment about 2 weeks ago, and he seems to believe that the Court of Owls is back in action. Bruce doubts whether this legend is actually true, as he should have come across them or at least heard of them by now. Lincoln suggests that maybe the Court of Owls is only making their presence known after Bruce announced his ideas for a better Gotham. Bruce ponders over this and leaves the hospital while assuring Lincoln that his security team will ensure his safety. Batman then tries to figure out the hiding place of the Talon and remembers that his great-grandfather Alan Wayne had the 13th floor removed from each of their buildings. He investigates the space between the 12th and 14th floors and finds the Court of Owls hideouts full of stored weapons and training equipment there. In addition, he learns that the court had a long history with the Wayne family and that they seemed to play some role in the deaths of his parents. Over the next few issues, Batman delves deeper into the lore of the Court of Owls and gets into more trouble with Talon and his acquaintances. He even ends up in an underground labyrinth created by the Court of Owls and defeats the Talon. He then makes his way through the underground maze and reaches a fountain room where a lady, who seemingly rules the Court of Owls, declares that the Talon is now useless. They then prepare a new, stronger army of Talons that can defeat Batman and take over Gotham. In the comic issue entitled Night of the Owls, issue 9, the court first launches an attack on Wayne Manor. The Talons also seem to have a list of people they need to either rescue or murder, and Batman finds Lincoln's name on this list. He visits Lincoln's campaign office to check up on him and sees a man pointing a gun at Lincoln. Batman then rushes to Lincoln's rescue. Lincoln has multiple stab wounds to his chest and seems critical. Lincoln whispers that he has a message to give to Bruce Wayne and hands a note to Batman while he takes his last few breaths. The note has 3 names, and Lincoln states that they may or may not be names of the members of the Court of Owls. Lincoln even tells Batman to remind Bruce Wayne that Gotham can still be a good place, and that this place is worth fighting for. As this issue comes to an end, Batman informs Alfred that he now knows where the court lives, and that he is going to burn their houses to the ground. In the next issue, entitled Assault on the Court, issue 10, Batman breaks into Maria Powers' penthouse at the Powers Hotel and finds an owl's mask. He confronts her, but she denies that the mask is hers. Batman then inquires about her husband, Joseph Powers, and the lady states that he is out of the country. As Batman leaves her place, Maria warns him that the Court of Owls has not been defeated yet, and then she rushes to contact her husband. Batman then uses her phone signal to find Joseph Powers' location and finds him to be at the Harbour House. He enters the building with newfound determination to finally uncover the Court of Owls, but is shocked to see all the members sitting quietly around a table. He inches closer to them and discovers that they're all dead. Bruce wonders why all of the court members killed themselves, and he concludes that there's been a setup. He then discovers that all the money from the court's members' accounts has been transferred to another account, and he then tries to establish some connection between the court and his parents' death. He later heads to the morgue, where he finds a handwritten note that states, "Follow me down the rabbit hole." Batman finds the location of this so-called rabbit hole, which turns out to be a sinkhole that had caused the destruction of the Willowwood Home for Children. Willowwood was the only orphanage in Gotham that provided care for children with mental illnesses, and its destruction left these children with nowhere to go. As Batman reaches Willowwood, he falls into a trap and is captured by a net. Lincoln March then stands in front of him and asks Batman to tell him who he really is. Batman replies by saying that he isn't really Lincoln March, and that his true identity is merely that of a traitor and a thief. He even looks down on Lincoln for betraying the Court of Owls, and we learn that Lincoln killed the court by poisoning all of them. He himself only managed to survive because he ingested large amounts of Talon serum beforehand. As the two converse, Lincoln tells Batman that the court will definitely come for him again in the future, but he will not be so easy to kill. Lincoln also reveals that he stole the armor developed by the court in order to train a new powerful Talon to defeat the Batman, and he then puts on this armor himself. While Lincoln talks about the Court of Owls, he asks Batman to tell him who he is and not what he did. Batman then states his theory that Lincoln was once a child residing at Willowwood. Lincoln wanted Batman to delve into his own past by asking him these questions, and he asks Batman why he thinks the court took him in as a child. He even gives Batman a hint by stating that this had something to do with who he already was, and the vigilante then mentions the pin that Lincoln had mentioned during their lunch meeting at Wayne Tower. Batman then reveals that he remembers his mother, Martha Wayne, wearing the same pin on the day of her car accident. Lincoln merely states that the only reason he fabricated an entire tale about his mother and the pin was because he had seen a picture of Martha Wayne wearing the pin. There was no truth in his earlier story about surviving a car crash that killed his parents. However, Lincoln says there is some truth in his story about the pin and that he had seen it before. He tells Batman that the pin was given only to the mothers of the children that resided at Willowwood. Lincoln then announces that he is Bruce Wayne's younger brother, Thomas Wayne Jr., and that he was born in an accident and sent away to Willowwood to heal. While Bruce states that the Court of Owls has fabricated this entire tale, Lincoln believes that Martha had a miscarriage during a car accident 4 years before her death, and that he somehow managed to survive and be born despite the complications. However, he was born with paralysis and was sent away to Willowwood, where Martha often visited him and spent time with him. It was also implied that the Court of Owls had some role in orchestrating the car accident which caused Martha's miscarriage, which is why the couple kept their child a secret to keep him safe from the court. Lincoln also says that he was well taken care of at Willowwood and that the Wayne family often donated large sums of money to the orphanage. Martha Wayne often visited him at the orphanage and he soon figured out that she was his mother. He saw Martha and Thomas on television and discovered that he belonged to a privileged family. All this time, the Court of Owls kept visiting him at night and confirmed his suspicions about his origins. After Martha and Thomas's deaths at the hands of Joe Chill, Willowwood had problems with funding, and Thomas Wayne Jr. was then adopted by the Court of Owls, who trained him to become an assassin for them. Lincoln had hoped that Bruce would come and take him from the orphanage, but it was the Court of Owls who actually took him in. In the next issue entitled My Brother's Keeper, Lincoln blamed Bruce for the death of his parents and challenged him to a fight as brother to brother and owl to bat. He believed that Bruce didn't come and get him from Willowwood because he didn't want to share Gotham with him. Lincoln was also of the view that across history, brothers always shared a fate that was torn apart by greed. He was determined to kill the greedy Batman who believed that Gotham was his city and then take his rightful place as the Wayne heir. Batman and Lincoln then launch into a fight, but Lincoln seems to have the upper hand due to the strength given to him by the Talon Serum. Lincoln flew across the city with Bruce hanging onto a rope, and he swung Bruce's body all over Gotham. He even mocked Bruce for being arrogant and assuming that Gotham was his city, while Bruce tells him that he should have been watching his own back. Lincoln then realizes that there's an explosive on his back, and this device explodes moments later. Lincoln then disappears for a while, and Bruce gets some time to catch his breath and uses a bat rope to land on the roof of an unfinished tower. He swings through a window and finds Lincoln already waiting for him there. Lincoln had set explosive charges throughout the entire building, and he's sure that it will destroy Bruce while he himself will easily survive the explosion due to his altered physiology. While Bruce tries to escape, Lincoln reveals that the Court of Owls once even planned to announce that Lincoln is heir to the Wayne fortune. When Bruce disappeared for a long time after his parents' death, the court was set to put this plan in motion, but they couldn't go through with it as Bruce soon reappeared. The court then decided that it would be best to give him the identity of Lincoln March and make him a notable figure in Gotham. However, Lincoln wasn't just satisfied with this and wanted the entire city to be under his control. While he couldn't be Gotham's future, he decided that he would play the role of its past and haunt Batman for his entire life. While the explosives go off, Lincoln manages to escape, hoping that Bruce will die a sad death, knowing that he won't play a role in Gotham's future. However, Bruce manages to escape without any injuries. Bruce later tries to make some sense of the things said to him by Lincoln, and he believes that his parents would have definitely told him about his brother. He remembered that his mother did give birth to another child, but this child had died prematurely around 12 hours after being born. He explored the possibility that his parents fabricated medical records stating a child's death, but refuses to believe that his parents would do anything of the sort. He even looks into some of Willowwood's records and discovers that a baby was admitted there a week after Martha's accident. He also remembers that Martha often visited the orphanage and that this was all enough evidence for the Court of Owls to fabricate a tale about Lincoln's origins. Nevertheless, Bruce doesn't rule out the possibility of the story being true and finally decides that he can't conclude anything without at least a DNA test. His association with the Court of Owls. The Court of Owls was established years before Gotham came into existence, and the organization aimed to take over this city one day. While the most criminal organizations in Gotham dabbled in crime and theft on the streets, the Court of Owls was a secret, relatively privileged organization that was backed with unimaginable amounts of wealth and power to aid in their activities. Lincoln March was adopted by the Court of Owls when he was just 4 years old, after the death of Thomas and Martha Wayne. Lincoln also had paralysis, and he believed that this was due to him surviving a near-fatal accident right before his birth. The Court of Owls adopted Lincoln when he was 4 years old, and they even cured his paralysis with the help of the metal electrum. He grew up in the court, where he was given the Talon serum that enhanced his speed, stamina, and even gave him regenerative healing properties. The court trained Lincoln to become an assassin, and there is even a chance that they manipulated the young boy to believe that he was born to the Waynes just so that they could get better access to the Wayne family's power. After living with the court, he took up the name Lincoln March as a reference to the place where he was born. It is suggested that Lincoln initially served as a Talon for the court and later on became the Owl Man. While there's no clear clarification as to whether Lincoln March really is the Owl Man, it's assumed that this was one of Lincoln's many identities. Lincoln held a powerful place in the city after establishing March Ventures and even ran for mayor, and his political status greatly benefited the court. However, he wasn't very loyal to the organization, and he betrayed the court by killing off all the founding members and then transferring all their funds to his account. During Batman Eternals, Lincoln sided with Arthur Brown to destroy Batman, but later betrayed Arthur and even killed him when he was about to kill Bruce Wayne. While he saved Bruce's life in a way, Lincoln was then attacked by the entire Bat family, and he ended up dying. The Court of Owls then showed up and placed Lincoln's body in cryogenic stasis to punish him and ensure that they could still use him if they needed to in the future. After the Court of Owls was once again destroyed by the Batman Who Laughs from Earth 22, the Joker woke Lincoln up from his cryogenic sleep. Now that Lincoln didn't have the Court of Owls, he decided to join Joker's army and serve under him. What made him a formidable opponent for Batman? Like all members of the Court of Owls, Lincoln March had a Talon armor that gave him superhuman strength, speed, and durability. The armor was equipped to shoot energy blasts and also had a life support system. The armor also had attached claws and blades, along with some hidden knives, hooks, and other weapons that aided him in combat. He also had a Talon serum that altered his biological features and enhanced his natural stamina and speed. This serum also altered Lincoln's metabolism and gave him regenerative healing properties that made him invincible. While Lincoln wasn't far superior to Batman in terms of strength and combat skills, he definitely did match the Vigilante and was quite a formidable opponent. Lincoln was also skilled in various martial arts and had undergone rigorous training to master his fighting skills. He was also a master at manipulation and diplomacy, which helped him in his political career. He was also quite intelligent and had access to great fortunes, which only made him more powerful. Conclusion. To sum it all up, Lincoln March was quite a formidable opponent for Batman, and he stirred up quite some trouble for the Vigilante. His presence definitely made for a wonderful addition to the Batman comics, and it would be great to see him be a part of the movie universe someday. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.